Hello and welcome to another Christmas episode of Try Talk. Today with me is, as ever, my fabulous host, Aneta and My name is Oliver Tonder, and welcome to the podcast.
It's been a while since we talked the last time.
It has. We have been busy, both of us.
And all of our potential guests were busy.
All
It's
of
not
us.
like we haven't tried.
We have been trying to get a couple guests on the podcasts. We definitely have a few scheduled for the coming weeks. But there have been a couple of developments that we feel like we should comment on, mainly the Xterra schedule, the World Cup schedule for 2025 being released, and a couple developments outside of that. So that's kind of what the podcast is going to be about today.
Let's start with the off season, shall we?
Yeah.
So 2 weeks after Molvano, there has been Challenge Mallorca, and Emil Sloth Nielsen participated. It was his second half distance triathlon, and he has finished 14th, which might not sound as impressive, but he has run 1:08 and 26 seconds, fastest run split, after what has been pretty unfair bike I've heard. I have talked to him after the race, and he has described that there was a pack of people in front who were riding together, and basically, given his swim, he was behind and he had to chase them. So he did not draft as the ones in front, and so even more impressive, the running split.
Yeah, this backs up Jens's result from the Copenhagen half marathon. This guy is insane at running off a bike with fatigue. He's really something to be reckoned with on the Xterra course, on the Xterra circuit. But it's interesting that he has started dabbling in these half Ironman distances, that he has started expanding outside of the traditional just World Cup circuit.
Well, he has been talking about it for quite a long time, so I'm not so surprised. And by the way, this running split would be a winning running split at the Ironman 70.3 World Championship. Like they run around this time, I think 107, 108. So just imagine he would be swimming 2 minutes faster.
Yeah.
It would be a completely different story. I hope he's working on his swim during the winter, and even though I would be sad if he is not dedicated to the Xterra World Cup, I would be very much cheering for him at the half distance circuit.
Yep, I agree. I really hope he can improve on that swim. I would say it's going to be the easiest to improve upon out of all the disciplines because the deficit there is like compared to other people is just bigger. But also it goes down to athlete motivation, what he finds fun. So clearly this year he worked on his run really, and you could see those results started coming in this year. It just changed so much. If he does the same thing for his swim, he can be incredibly good.
He just really needs to dedicate himself to the swimming. Like, I know it's not the most enjoyable probably, but if I was him, I would be in the pool every day.
If I was him, I would be as well. But then again, I wouldn't probably run as well as he does.
But we've seen two other athletes that are riding TT bike, probably preparing for their long distance debut.
Yeah.
One of them is Solenne, and other is Arthur Serrieres. Yep. So both were Xterra World champions. Seems to be playing with the idea of racing long distance triathlon.
It's a bit sad, isn't it? I mean, on one hand, I don't know how much you would use a TT bike in training to supplement some sort of something.
Unless you would not.
You wouldn't. You're doing it to prepare for something, right?
You ride a road bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, of course you do.
And a mountain bike.
Yeah. And a mountain bike, but you don't ride a TT bike in preparation for Xterra races. And we've seen Lukas Kocher switching to long distance, and potentially now we see other athletes. Why do you think it's that?
It's hard to say. I think that unfortunately there is this trend of Xterra slowly losing some of its talents and maybe not attracting the newest talents. You know, like there's not a lot of new names coming into the sport. It feels like it's more established names that have been proving themselves. You know, one person that comes to mind is Sullivan. He's, of course, he kind of comes into the sport occasionally, but it's
But
not like
he's focusing on a short distance, Olympic distance triathlon, isn't
exactly.
he?
It's not
Yeah.
like he's here to stay. It's not like he's going to focus on the non-Xterra.
And we are not losing athletes only to long distance triathlon. There are athletes like playing with the idea of doing Olympic distance
Yeah,
triathlon as
like
well. Like
Loan.
we saw Loan.
Mm-hmm.
Anna is also quite open about it that she wants to do Olympic distance triathlon as well. I said it before, I want to do Olympic distance triathlon as well. So we will see who's going to be dedicated to the Xterra World Cup next year.
What do you think? Why do you think that there's a lot of athletes who are leaving the field or leaving the field who are starting to focus outside of their, you know, home ground?
Well, I think the prize money is one thing. Obviously, half distance triathlon, whether it is Ironman or Challenge, it's way more competitive. But at the same time, there are so many races, and I've just checked the prize money, and the lowest prize money you can win in Ironman, in any Ironman race where there is a pro category, correspond with the prize money that you can win in Xterra World Cup.
Mm.
So the lowest of the lowest category. So for example, this year that has been Ironman Warsaw 70.3 race. There was same prize money as Xterra World Cup, and there has been six pro women. Five of them got a prize money,
Yeah.
and that's what you get at the highest competition in Xterra.
No.
Obviously, as I said, a half distance or long distance is way more competitive, but at the same time, if you can't be a pro athlete in Xterra and you see that you can be competitive in long distance, like why wouldn't you do the switch, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And plus,
That's just the cruel truth.
and you'll have some insight into this. I feel like racing Xterra is maybe not as marketable to your sponsors, to your potential sponsors,
Absolutely.
as
Yeah.
doing something on the road, as doing half Ironman, because I would say that Xterra itself actually has really good brand recognition among triathletes, but then Ironman, that goes to the general population, and that's just so much bigger.
Everyone knows what Ironman is.
Yeah,
No one knows what's cross triathlon or Xterra.
yeah.
Like if I say it in Norway, for example, people don't even know that exists.
Which is,
So that's just the truth.
but like if I'm being completely honest, I grew up as somebody who raced on the road. I did all of that stuff. It just isn't that fun. It's not.
No, it's
It's
not.
not fun to watch. It's not fun to spectate. I don't think I've ever actually watched a single, road race start to finish because it's just not fun. Like even during the
It's so
Olympics,
boring. Yeah,
you
I
you turn
agree.
it off. You can't tell who's who in the water. Everybody's together on the bike, and then one of the guys runs 1 minute per kilometer faster than the other guys, and that's
Yeah.
it. And Xterra is such a dynamic and exciting environment where there's so many
Yeah.
things that can change, and we've seen this in the U.S. If you look at the USA, they have road cycling, right? People don't race on the road that much. What they do have is gravel. It's so much more exciting, right? Maybe not for spectators, right? But for the participants. And Xterra is exactly the same way. For the participants, this is so much more fun. But also for the spectators, this is like a much more appealing product. That's why I'm really optimistic about like what Xterra could become in the future. And I'm a bit sad that that's just not necessarily where we are at this moment.
Well, is the 2025 season gonna change that?
I
Now
don't
that
know.
we know what it's gonna look like,
Let's talk about it. Let's talk
let's
about it.
talk about that. So there hasn't been a big announcement yet,
Mhm.
but the races are published on the website, and anyone can go and have a look. You will find it under Rules, Elite, Triathletes information, and let's see. We will kick it off with Asian Pacific Championship at the end of March in Australia.
Mhm.
We will continue with Greece at the end of April, so 1 month later.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is a new destination, Western Park in Great Britain, 3rd of May,
Mm-hmm.
followed by North American Championship in Oak Mountain,
Mm-hmm.
mid-May,
Mm-hmm.
where we will have a short track as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a long break until mid-July, where there is Xterra Quebec in Canada. And then traditional one, Xterra Czech, August 9th. And European Championship week after in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
No short track there, only
Mm-hmm.
in Czech Republic. And the short track ends with a Molveno short track.
The World Cup ends with more than a short.
The World Cup ends. So the World Championship is not going to be included in the World Cup.
Which is an interesting, that's probably the biggest change to this year, is not including the world champs for full distance. I think it's something that we should talk about. We'll maybe touch on it later. Another thing that strikes me is no Belgium.
I'm glad there is no Belgium.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
That race has been horribly organized. I think it was the case last year. I haven't been there last year, but I've heard a lot, and it's been exactly the same this year.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it was a duathlon, but even if it was a triathlon, that wouldn't have changed anything about the organization of the race itself.
Yep.
So I don't think that race deserved to be on the World Cup circuit, and I'm really glad that it's not. Instead, we will have a UK, which will be a specific race that is going to be elite race only, and it will be on 8 kilometers loop, which we will do 4 times. I think that is super exciting.
You think so? Are you excited for it?
I am really excited.
Okay.
It's going to be much more fun to watch, and hopefully they will build a bit more technical course, and it can completely change how the race is going to go. So I think I'm really excited. I'm really happy about that one.
It'll be really interesting to see how that whole thing works out, because on one hand, you're able to give the athletes a much more exciting course, something, and you're also able to have all these age groupers come and watch the athletes, right? Because they're racing a different course. On the other hand, the thing I don't like about this idea is that you lose kind of that spirit of where I can measure myself up to the professionals. And I'm like, like when you run a marathon, right? You run a marathon with all the professional athletes, and they're just like twice as fast as you, right? It's the same thing with, I mentioned gravel riding. They do the same thing with gravel riding. They just start the elites day later, right? Sometimes so that they don't interfere. But it's the same course, which is kind of, it's a good thing, but I feel like maybe Xterra doesn't necessarily worry about that too much. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. But I'm glad that there is something new and exciting. So I think it's a good step. At least we can try and see if that works.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. What has struck me is the European Championships in Germany, in Zittau, which only have a long distance race.
I'm also surprised. There's always been a short track.
And it was always good, and it was always fun to watch.
Yeah, well,
I feel like it's a missed opportunity, to be completely honest.
To be honest, from an athlete's perspective, it would be pretty hardcore to race regular race in the Czech Republic, short track the day after, and then another short track in 5 days or whatever, and another regular race. So it would be 4 races within a week. I can understand that they decided not to do a short track in Germany.
I understand that. I think also, but the short tracks are really extremely marketable, I would say. Like they're just so to watch. They're easy to watch. They're easy to live stream. You just put them on YouTube. People watch it. It's really a good thing. And also, I think that Xterra has been missing the opportunity to, let's say you win the short track in Molveno, you're not called world champion short track.
That I don't understand.
You should
honestly
be,
yes,
right?
exactly. I agree. Why there is no world championship in short track or European championship in short track? It just makes sense, right?
Yeah. But then you have to have the short track with every single race, which I understand can be logistically complicated for For
Why do you think
those
so?
organizers, so that there's value, so that not every single, because usually the short tracks correspond to a certain championship, right? So like Australia is the Pacific Pet Championships,
Ah, in
and they
that
have the
way.
short track.
Yeah, I see.
In the USA, they have the North American Championships, and they have the short track. Then Prachatica, okay, for doesn't have is not a championships and still has a short track, right? But
Mm.
that's probably because of a good relationship of organizers.
And historically given, the short track has been there,
Yep.
established there, so makes sense it's there, of course.
I would
Well,
like to see that expanded if possible, in the future maybe.
yeah, yeah, definitely a good idea. We haven't had a short track at the Asian Pacific Championship last year in Taiwan, so
Mhm.
I see your point. Yeah.
Yep. And we're missing the
Well,
short track in Belgium. We talked about Belgium today,
let's
but
not talk about
yeah,
Belgium anymore.
I have some bad memories from that race. Anyway,
Me too. Me too. Well, what else has changed? Not much, to be honest. We haven't had Germany last year. This year there's Germany. So is there actually one more race than last year?
no, I think it's the same. It's the same amount of races because Belgium has basically been moved to the UK, and
Yeah,
outside of
but
that,
we didn't have Germany. So there is one more
right?
race.
There is an extra race, right?
There is an extra race,
Right.
which is surprising because there is no Joker. Should we talk about that?
We should definitely talk about the Joker.
I am disappointed,
Hmm.
to be honest. I think that it was quite unanimous
Hmm.
that athletes wish to have a Joker for a very simple reason.
Hmm.
Like, if you have that many races as we do, it's impossible not to get sick or have a flat tire or break your chain or you should just be able to pick your bad day.
Hmm.
And right now the World Cup will be about who is gonna be lucky, who is not gonna be sick too much not to be able to race, or who is not gonna have an accident or mechanical.
Hmm.
It's not about who is the best, in my point of view.
I talked to Scott about this, and he said that he used to also kind of be a bit upset that there was no Joker rule, but he has kind of pivoted a little bit, and now he thinks that okay, maybe it is the most fair way to gain points. If you go, you go. If you don't go, you don't go. In terms of mechanicals, Xterra have said that there will be a neutral, some sort of a neutral bike service area that will
Yeah,
work.
but if you have a 30-kilometer loop,
Yeah,
how is that gonna help you?
it's going to ruin your day for sure.
Yeah.
We'll try to do something we've never done before. We'll try to put I worked on a little table, and we'll try to put that on the screen for our YouTube viewers. But just to illustrate the point I'm about to make, if you look at the amount of participations that elite athletes did this year as compared to last year, where there was a Joker rule, you can see that the amount of athletes who actually participated, more regularly in the World Cup significantly decreased. What increased marginally was people who went to every single one of the race stops. That increased, but the people one rank below that, which who only attended seven or more of the races, that amount decreased substantially because once you've missed one, you might as well miss another one because you're out of the World Cup. That's kind of the
Yeah.
thinking that eliminating the Joker incentivizes. And I think it's so I think that in terms of competitive balance, in terms of giving every single World Cup field the best field that Xterra can give, it's a bad thing not having a Joker. It just means every single field is, on average, going to be weaker. Now, the reason why the Joker was deleted was because last year we had Xterra Czech, then we had Xterra Germany, and then we had Xterra Quebec, where literally only like three or two of the people who frequent the World Cup showed up. Like it was so few people showed up to that race, and I think that it looked bad for Xterra, and that's the reason why they were like, okay, I'm sorry guys, but you can't do this.
It was a Beaver Creek. It was not
Was
Canada.
it Beaver
It,
Creek?
it was a
Okay, yeah,
Beaver Creek.
my
I
bad.
went there.
My bad. Yeah, and Ruben
Yeah.
Ruben Rizzafa went there as well to make
Yeah,
up some
exactly.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, So that was the reason. That was the reason why that was eliminated. And however, on the other hand, I think that it's going to be the exact same this year because you have the calendar is structured in two blocks. There's a block from Australia, Greece, England, and what's the third one? America. There's four races which are close together, right? Then there's a 2 month break. Okay, great for training, right? Great for training.
Unless you are doing Cross Triathlon World Championship, which is in the middle of that
Yeah,
break.
unless you're doing that, in which case that's cut in half. Then you have Canada, which is all alone by itself, and then another month after Canada, you have Czech, you have Zital,
Germany.
and you have Moveno, right?
And furthermore, there is no short track in Canada. There has been short
Exactly.
track in Canada last year.
Yep.
And now we could see that there were so many people that DNF'd in Belgium, including me.
Mhm.
And after that race, decided, okay, I have missed Belgium. There's no point of me to continue trying to do the Interwedka, so I'm
Yep.
not going to go to Canada.
Yep.
So while they are trying to eliminate that people decide not to go to Canada because it's not convenient, or Oak Mountain or Australia, which is just far from Europe,
Mhm.
I think it's going to happen anyway.
Yep. They have a worse starting field on average at every single one of the stops because of it. They
Yeah.
have athletes racing sick, which is just unbelievable, right? And they have increased the pressure on athletes to perform on every single day. And
Yeah.
it's just a bad thing overall, right? I
And
understand what they're trying to do, but it's just not working. And doubling down on it is just a bad decision.
And while we were also advocating for moving the races close to each other, for example, like you have European races 1 week after each other, like with the UK, Greece,
Mhm.
and Czech Republic, and Germany, it's not the case for North America. You have one race in May and then another in July.
Yeah, I was
So
looking.
while it's beneficial for the Americans to come to Europe and do 4 races
Mhm.
in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
we have to travel twice
Yep.
to North America.
Yep. I was looking at this. I know that they have been calls for to make it more sustainable, to make athletes not have to fly all over the globe because that's not particularly good for the environment,
We play,
right?
we protect, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there have been calls among the athletes to say, okay, let's do multiple races in the U.S., but put them back to back or something. Now I understand Xterra don't they don't organize each and every single one of these races. They don't have a controlling say in exactly how everything is set up and when everything is set up in each of these locations, right? And so what it looks like right now is, oh, you can go to the U.S. to North America and do two races, except they're 2 months apart, and it just doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Like we've seen 3 women doing the entire World Cup last year. It was Solenne, it was Marta, and it was Anna.
Mhm.
Alize did travel to every race, but had a mechanical in Canada.
Mhm.
And
And Lorena Errol, don't forget her. She
she did
went,
all the races?
yeah, she got like 10 or more of races because she travels with Sebi Neff.
Oh, yeah, okay. So 4.
Mhm.
I don't know how many men, but
For men, it was 7 men who did 10 or
7 men.
more of the races. Yeah.
I'm afraid that's going to decrease next year.
Yeah, I think so too, because you have people who are at the top of the sport who are looking at other opportunities as well,
Yeah.
sadly. So I think that Xterra might lose a little bit of its oomph.
So instead of learning a lesson from this year, let's add one more race and no joker rule. Should we end up on a better note? I will tell you one race that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, please do.
And it's a championship of South America in Colombia.
Hmm.
It's 1 week after Oak Mountain. Now, I shouldn't be maybe saying this because it's very convenient to travel there, but then a lot of people will travel there.
Hmm.
But there is a direct flight from Atlanta to Bogota in
Ooh,
Colombia, and the race is only 80 kilometers from Bogota.
uh-huh.
It's in 2,500 meters above the sea, so it's going to be brutal.
Wow,
But I've never been to South America, so I'm really excited, and I think I will add that to my schedule.
that's awesome. Well, we are broadly really, really passionate about Xterra, and we are very grateful to have the organization. We just want to see it improved. That's all that we need
And
today.
I am dedicated to the Xterra World Cup next year.
Exactly.
I hope to be one of the athletes that will actually do the entire World Cup.
Yep.
Finger crossed I'm not gonna get sick,
Mhm.
which is a bit difficult with a toddler. I hope I will not have any mechanical,
Mhm.
and I will be aiming high.
Yeah, and I think with that we can close off this long discussion that we had. We would like to wish our listeners Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We're going to be releasing this episode
Soon.
hopefully soon, hopefully before Christmas happens.
Probably not. Christmas are tomorrow.
Okay, Christmas
Nope.
is, yeah.
Yeah, don't put the pressure on the
Okay,
editor
sorry,
here. Okay.
won't do that. But thank you very much for listening, and stay tuned. We will have some interesting interviews planned. So hopefully hear you soon. Ciao.
Merry Christmas.